inside of the West Virginia Biomechanics Performance Center, joined by Chris Riley, the Director of Pitching Personnel. First and foremost, thanks so much for having us and welcome us inside this kind of playhouse here that we got going on.
Thanks for coming. A little peek behind the curtain of what we've been working on for the last few months.
It's truly incredible, and so obviously you're going to see it in the video just how awesome everything is. Talk to us about kind of the vision behind what this building was and what you've got going on in here and why it's going to be such an important tool for the program.
West Virginia University baseball has been built on player development for years. I mean, since moved to the Big 12 to then adding the stadium, it's kind of seen a recent growth based on getting players here and getting them better. And up until this building, I mean, there hasn't been a covered batting cage for West Virginia University. So going from no covered cages to now one of the best facilities in the United States, I think gives us that competitive advantage that we're all trying to gain to win baseball games.
All right, let's talk. I mean, obviously, as you can see, there's 3 mounds in here. We have obviously all the cameras hooked up, but right over there on that other side from us, we also have hitting tunnels with track band, force plates in the ground. So not only are you guys in here, this isn't just a pitching lab, this is a total team facility baseball lab. Let's start there. What's exciting for the offensive side of what you're going to be able to do over there on that side of the lab?
I think the recent trend in baseball has been to capture the pitching side of technology and refining everybody's mechanics and pitches, but now having swing catalyst, we've got force plates inlaid in the concrete, so it's seamless to be able to capture and actually capture the players' best swings and then duplicate those and make changes rather than the old school terminology or verbiage, to actually have data-based suggestions and decisions made to make changes, I think is going to be impactful.
Yeah, it's huge, right? It can just speed up the development process. Over here on the pitching side, where you're really going to get your hands dirty, what are you most excited about for this side of the thing?
I think it's an opportunity to get our pitchers the answers to the questions they've been looking to. For years, we've just been using TrackMan on a tripod, and it's on an iPad, and now we've got the opportunity to make real decisions, real suggestions based on how guys are interacting with the ground on the new force mound, or how their bodies are moving and rotating with the Kinetrack system. So to get everything that's again fact-based or data-based, to make decisions rather than the old school of, hey, throw as hard as you can that way, but stay back, right? That was always confusing for me, right? Stay back, but throw hard. Now we can communicate it in a way to our players that actually can make sense, and they'll be able to have immediate feedback to make those changes.
All these different resources in here. You mentioned TrackMan, we're talking about Newt Force, Kinetracks, we have all these things. Before we dive into them, that is a lot of information that probably takes a whole team of people to go through. So talk about the team that you guys have in place that will then be able to kind of ingest this data and then spit it back out so the players can understand it.
Sure. Our pitching coach, his name is Justin Oney. He's been at West Virginia for 4 or 5 years, and he is absolutely in the weeds, building relationships, hands-on coaching guys, making pitch changes, grip changes, delivery changes on a day-to-day basis. We also have a director of data and analytics. His name's Nathaniel Rory. He helps us oversee pitch trends and usage and shapes that are appealing based on how our guys move and things like that. And most excited to recently announce the hire of a full-time biomechanist who will office in this building. She'll also have a role within the School of Sports Science, but with all this technology comes a ton of data that us baseball guys need to find a way to translate to our players. And I think my role will help oversee that and try to identify the best way for our players to improve and the best methods for our guys to reach their goals and our team goals.
Absolutely, and because getting all this data is great. having all the shiny toys is great, but the chain of command and being able to break it down and translate it in the communication so that the players understand it, and now we can have actionable stuff. That's got to be the most important part, correct?
Exactly, and that's what we're excited about. Like, we can throw guys on here. For instance, the building opened in March of 2025, and Coach Oni and myself and Nathaniel, we're ready to throw guys in here and collect all the data, yet we're 15-1 at the time. So it's like we need to use the right amount of caution before throwing guys into this data world while they're focusing on what I like to say is keeping the main thing, which is getting outs.
Absolutely. So I just want to dive into a little bit of this because you talk about it, some of this technology and tying it all together to getting the outs. So first I want to start here. We have some pretty sweet cameras set up. I believe these are spin cameras, right? So grip cameras, I apologize. Talk about kind of the use for these and what you're excited about most with having cameras on either side for righty or lefty, it looks like.
Yeah, the way the facility was laid out, Kinatrax had offered high-res cameras to allow us to essentially get into the nitty-gritty to show our players while they're changing pitch shapes and working on a pitch design session, actually how the ball's coming off their finger. And oftentimes it's not coming off how they feel or they think it is. So being able to show them on a monitor up close immediately after we see the shape of the pitch, we can evaluate whether the pitch is effective or not, how we anticipate it playing based on their release characteristics, and then also make modifications of grips, orientation, and also finger pressure.
How quickly does that then speed up the adjustment process, right? Because back in the day, like you mentioned earlier, the stay back and throw this way was the same thing with pitching. Like, hey, move that finger, try this, do that. And like, you're just guess and check, guess and check. Now that probably speeds up when you're getting a close-up look of how everything is truly coming off the fingertips, yes?
Exactly. I think the old, pitching coach method used to be, try this grip, and if you throw it effectively in the area of execution, everybody's happy. And you're like, that's good, stay with that, right? But ultimately now we can see how much horizontal and vertical break and the shape and the axis and the tilt. So using the cameras just speeds that up. And obviously our guys need to go take it in the game. We need to have real life experience with it, see how the hitter's reacting toward it. Before we book it and say that's your mix.
Yep, and then so I see them over there behind the plates on both screens here. TrackMan, obviously TrackMan's become huge across all of college baseball, across all of baseball in general. In your kind of view, what's your vision for using the TrackMan, and why does it excite you to have that tool to kind of see the metrics and understand the ball flight? Yeah.
To understand our players and how they feel on a certain day, how their velocity's progressing throughout the season. So having every bullpen captured on that allows us to build a steady database of their development process, which is what we're all after. So TrackMan, having how the ball actually moves is critical, and then the cameras obviously help with making changes.
And then one of the biggest ones in my mind, being able to tie that together and understanding how the ball comes off your fingers and how the ball is actually flying. A lot of that has to do with the force you're putting into the ground and how your body's moving. Give us the rundown of Newt force and how it ties back into, like I was just saying, spin and the way the ball's flying.
Our experience with the Newt force mount to this point has been the immediate feedback of getting a player in here, throwing a pitch, making a suggestion, and him actually being able to see how his weight was transferred, how he stops, how he controls his body. That's been the most impactful component of it all. Obviously, the old stay back adage and go fast, now we actually have target areas and scores and velocities and ground reaction forces that indicate where our targets are and what goals we want to reach in terms of attaining a high caliber thrower or pitcher.
Yeah, and then obviously to get a lot of this, there's the component of then seeing it, all the cameras set up around here. Kinatrax obviously a big player in this. The tying of it all together with each and every single tool, what does Kinatrax bring to the table in then being able to pair it with something like Newt force where you're getting the ground reaction?
Exactly. I feel like Kinatrax is allowing us to see things that our eyes couldn't capture. How much a guy's counter-rotating or how fast he's moving. The mobility component, which is huge in the pitching realm. strength conditioning, how guys' bodies evolve as they mature. 18 to 22-year-old young men go through a ton of change, let alone going to college and eating and the nutrition and the sleep component, which is critical for velocity and great deliveries. And now having Nude Force and Kinetrax paired together, we can build a training regimen that on a daily basis builds up to achieve our attainable or ideal deliveries.
And so then the last piece, the most important piece is obviously buy-in. How do you cultivate that buy-in from your guys, right? Because obviously it's exciting to have all this stuff, and it's exciting to be collecting all this data, but the guys truly have to believe it, and they have to kind of, I would say, see proof of concept, right? How do you go about creating that staff-wide culture of, I understand as the program, everyone's trying to get better, and that's kind of what we do here in Morgantown, but how do you get it from the pitchers and like, okay, this stuff works, this stuff matters, this can help me get better quicker?
The buy-in for me has always come from getting the results you want. So I go back to the main thing being the main thing. There's the pitching lab culture where guys are focused on exactly what goes on in here and reaching their goals on the mound or with Kinetrax. But I think we work to that during the week, and then when it's time for them to go throw, when they see success out there and their bodies are moving faster, throwing harder, crisper, healthier, that's when the buy-in is ultimately achieved.
And then, having all this stuff is fantastic, but the end game is getting outs out there on the big mound. How do you go about tying these things together?
It's funny. My thought is separation, right? Tie it together by training as much as you can throughout the week. We as pitchers can't just take reps in the cage like a hitter, right? So we have to pay attention every throw, quality game of catch, and our warm-up routine has to be designed to make changes and adjustments and improvements with med balls or plyo balls, with our pre-throw and post-throw routine as well. And then once they leave here, it's time to go compete. And those are the things we value as a pitching staff, is the energy, the effort, and how they compete on a daily basis. And then they shouldn't worry about this stuff while they're out there trying to get outs.
You guys truly thought of everything in here. I said earlier, 2 Nude Force mounds. That's actually the game turf from out there, so guys can throw in spikes. Obviously, plyos, med balls. Talk about the kind of the thought behind the design in here to make this fully, to get the most out of a facility like this.
We want it to be, instead of a lab, we want it to be a training environment. Right now, it's pretty because it's new. We want it to get gritty. Where the guys are comfortable competing and sweating. So obviously the turf mound, having the ability for guys to throw in spikes is important. So we had infill turf laid in there, the plyo wall, the training environment, rollers, full training environment. Guys come in, can warm up, they can jog in the warm up area, throw med balls, do their pre-throw. We've got bands set up all across the facility to make sure they do their prehab. It really is, we want it to be a place for pitchers to come A to Z, train their full day, and leave here feeling good.
And then talk about, there's a ton of space behind the mounds. That feels intentional. Was it intentional to have kind of the mounds more towards the front there and give a bunch of room back there for guys to maybe sit around the mound and watch their teammates throw and things like that? It
was. We always want to compete, and for me to compete against every other pitcher on my staff, I want them aware. That's why the observation area is here. I want guys involved. I want them pulling for each other, and I want them to be competing against each other. So not only does it give us room to do drill work like roll-ins and things you need the space behind the mound, but it's also a coaching space too.
How excited are you to have this place full and be getting ready to roll?
I want to hear some yelling, some competition. Yeah. The guys fired up and competing as hard as they can.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun place to get it done. So over over here on the hitting side, want to dive a little deeper. Once again, you guys thought of kind of everything on this side. Talk a little bit about the design of the hitting portion of the facility.
Well, I'll start with the iPitch machines by Spinball. Those are fascinating for me because that can simply create all the pitches and shapes and velocities that we're trying to create on the pitching side. So when our guys need to tune up and face an opponent that has a certain velocity or shape or arsenal, we can simulate that and control it with the tablet. Here in the batter's boxes, we've got inlaid force plates, which is part of the swing catalyst system. It's a 4-camera system that measures the weight distribution in all 3 dimensions. There's a camera up top to see overhead for our guys to actually, again, make adjustments with immediate feedback. On one monitor, we'll have the batted ball data from TrackMan. And on the other, we'll be able to have the video review that's mirrored from the Swing Catalyst computer.
That's insane. We got 4 screens up here in the corner. What are these? What are the intentions behind the screens up here?
I think that's, again, to keep our guys competing. Those are intended to be leaderboards. So we haven't quite figured out yet what we're going to put up there. But we're excited to get, whether it be velocity or pitch shape, exit velocity, whatever that might be, whatever we find quantifiable, again, keep our guys competing. So on the velocity days, they can actually get after it, get sweaty, and try to accomplish some goals.